Biddle. Is that how you pronounce his name?
Yeah, yeah,
Yes.
Biddle. You know
Dope, dope,
Biddle?
dope. I met him in I met him, I forgot how we met. We met at this was at online somewhere, and then we started following each other.
Mm,
I found out he worked with, or a lot of people that knew about him I worked with and stuff like that. So yeah, it was, yeah,
okay,
for those
that's
types of
dope.
situations. Yeah, man,
Yeah, he's a real cool dude. Real cool dude. All
definitely.
right, man. So let's get it started. Talk a little bit about where you're from and what got you into producing music, stuff like that.
For sure. So I'm born and raised Miami, Florida.
Hmm.
Um, I started producing. So basically, like my story is kind of like it's one of those types of situations where I thought when I got into the music business that I was gonna get into music as an engineer, but as soon as I found out what engineers did and all of the other stuff, I was like, nah,
Yeah.
I'm good. So when I was in high school, I would have people come over, like I would have rappers come and I would connect them with producers. So I couldn't produce at the time. So basically, I would get other producers to connect with artists. And funny thing is that after like I did it enough times, I was like, you know what, this is fun. So it's like I was like, I wanted to start a record label, but I wanted to make sure I knew the business. So I studied the business for a few years before I actually started the company. So I started Valholla, which is my label. And after I started Valholla, then I like as far as production wise, like that was kind of like I started working with these. It was these two rappers by the name of Fats and Street, Young Street. Um, underground rappers from Miami. But what's crazy is that during that time we would do a lot of mixtapes because this was 2005. So I started my
Mm,
label like a while ago.
okay.
So we did a lot of mixtapes. We put a lot of mixtapes out, and I would get production from different people, and then it started kind of getting me into like how do I, because I didn't know how to actually play any instruments. So
Hmm.
when I actually got into the studio, I remember I was the first record I actually produced. It was actually a co-production. It was another producer and myself. He had like a skeleton of a beat, and I actually had the engineer put in instruments and stuff like that I wanted. So this was like
Hmm.
the first time that I was able to actually produce a record, and it really and even before that, I knew you don't really have to, as a producer, you don't have to physically play the music because
Yeah.
think about Quincy Jones and stuff like that. The difference is Quincy Jones knows how to write the music
Hmm.
for other people to play, but Timbaland and everybody else, they can they can actually create the melodies from their voices and actually get someone else to play the record. So it's like that was how I was able to kind of take that and kind of bring into me producing music. So I started kind of producing records off and on, but as me running a label and also a management company, I was focused on that. That's what I was focused on. I was trying to do it on the side, but then I
Okay.
would only have a few records here and there that I did. 2009, I produced a couple of records for a mixtape that we released called Vincent of Valhalla. It was Valhalla's the Future. And that was back when my name was Vince the Prince. I don't use that name anymore, but but
Okay.
yeah,
You
so
graduated.
yeah, I graduated. So basically, what ended up happening was, fast forward to all these years later, 2019, I really was like, you know what? Like something kind of clicked in me. I was like, like I see what the artists that I work with need to do to release records and put records out. I was like, I'm gonna start producing records because at the time, 2019, like by that time I started managing a production team by the name of the Track Burners, and they placed on albums from Future. They were on Big Sean's I Decided album, and I already was familiar with the process because of working with producers before, working with the process of actually pitching songs to major labels. It's like that's one of the most. I love it when songs land, but when you have to wait for years before a song comes out, it sucks. So
Yeah.
it's like I was like, you know what? I want to do a model where I produce the records and I put them out. If they land before on a major or whoever, that's great. But I'm gonna put the records together myself and I'm gonna put them out. So that's what I did. So basically, 2019, I started producing records like like a lot. Like I stood up. That was 2019 was when I really started to put more focus on producing records. So I started a record. I remember I started a record and then we ended up putting it out with the Track Burners. It was called Get It Started. It was with 3 artists that I work with, and did cool. We didn't really push it, but this was the first time I used the Vincent Valholla Empire, because Vincent Valholla Empire is kind of the vehicle that I'm gonna be using for. I look at it. I'm not sure. Are you familiar with Tame Impala?
That does sound familiar.
So Tame Impala is a band, but technically it's one guy. So basically, like when Tame Impala tours, they tour with musicians. They have like a certain set of musicians, but the person that's making the music is one guy. So I took that approach. So Vincent of Valhalla Empire is like my vehicle to release music with that I produce. So I started a record that was the Get It Started record came out, and then I started another record. It was an R&B record, and it's what the record that we recently put out, which is called Forever. My thought was I would put out instrumentals, and if an artist wanted to use that record, let's just say if I got a major somebody from a major label that wanted to use that record, I would basically just have it sampled and so forth, or they could buy the record, whatever the case may be. So I produced this record with the Track Burners and Vegas Fontaine, and I was like, you know what, this record is a little too good for me to release it just as an instrumental.
Yeah.
I was like, I want to put it out as a single, and I sent it to. So it's a songwriter that I knew by the name of Curtis Richardson. So Curtis Richardson, he wrote. I'm not sure if you're familiar with All I Had, which was J Lo and L Cool J back in 2000. It was early 2000. I think it was 2003. I think. But
I remember that.
Anyway, so he's written a lot of records. He's written for Rihanna, a bunch of others, Beyonce, a bunch of others. So so what happens is that now, so he got the record that I actually produced, and he was like, yeah, you know what, I'm gonna see if I could write something to it. So he actually co-wrote the record with a guy named Adrian Lewis, who's written for BTS and a bunch of other different K-pop acts. So he's big in the K-pop scene, and talented songwriter, talented singer, talented artist, and they blessed me with Forever. So Forever is like one of the first songs that I've produced that from start to finish that was exactly how I intended it. I wanted it to be a 90s feel type R&B record, and the songwriting, the production, everything lined up. So it was like one of the first times that I was able to kind of produce a record, and from start to finish, and it started and ended exactly how I wanted it. But to answer your question, 2019 was really when I started really focusing on production.
Okay. Like, can you explain like the process that goes into pitching songs for like major labels? Like, what's the process that goes into that?
Great question. So usually what happens is that you either know an A&R or somebody that's working on a project, and you can get the records directly to that A&R or to that manager or whoever. to get them to play the record for the artist, or you can have the A&R tell them, hey, like you should work on this record, and the artist does it. So the process is long. So basically, usually, like, let's just say if I send a record to, um, I just give you, let's just say if I send a record to Future, for example, or I send it to his A&R, whatever the case may be. What happens is that, like, you are kind of in a state of limbo to kind of figure out when the song is probably going to drop, or if they're going to pick it or record to it or not. Sometimes you get like an update to say, hey, like the artist recorded to the record. It's planning to come out whenever. But usually, if it's a major, what happens is that sometimes you won't. If it's a hip hop record, you probably won't know until if it's coming out until like weeks before, and then you'll see, okay, well, this is what we're offering you for the record, whatever the case may be. So it's a long process, and to be honest with you, I think producers should focus on working with artists that they can kind of create with and then release music that way, because getting to, like, unless you're actually in the room, it's hard to get records to artists. But obviously, you know, you got to take a shot in the dark, and you got to do it, go and do it. But like, my personal suggestion to artists or producers is to, you know, find an artist that you can build with, you know what I'm saying, and really start to put records out with them, do collabs with them, and that's the best way to kind of get your name out there, because it's really about name recognition. Because if you can attract the name, and then you have like a sound that people want, the A&Rs will call you and they'll say, hey, send me a pack, or whatever the case may be. So usually you'll send them like a pack of records, and then they'll pick what they want. So my approach right now is to put out records, prove that I can put records out that are amazing. Like, you know, as far as the feedback that we've gotten so far with Forever has been crazy. So I just want people to see, because I think people know me as a music executive, but they don't really know me as a producer. So I think now time to kind of change the narrative and show that, hey, like, I've been producer all this time. Now is the time I'm focusing on it though. So yeah, but that's how usually the process works as far as pitching records and stuff like that.
Okay. Okay. Um, shit, what was I gonna say? Um, so would you say you're like more so in like the pop field, or are you like still kind of in the hip hop field in terms of just working on music and producing and managing and stuff like that?
I would say all genres, like pop. Like, I'm down to do, you know, different genres, but mostly I kind of stick in the hip hop and R&B lane. Um, somebody from my team sent me a pop record yesterday, and so we have like some songwriters that we work with that deal with pop and stuff like that. So I'm always gonna be hip hop, R&B focused, but pop is like, it's a whole different vibe. So I definitely want to get more into pop. I want to produce a lot more pop records. My team
Would you?
produces pop records as well, and they're great at it. But we haven't gotten any. We've gotten like maybe one pop placement, but for the most part, like, pop is where I think we're gonna go to next. You know what I'm saying? I would love to, you know, work with Taylor Swift or whoever. You know.
Your big bucks. I ain't gonna lie. She's
Yes.
streaming like crazy right now.
Yeah. One
Her numbers are
one Taylor
stupid.
Swift record, like, you can. It's a wrap. Like, if you get one record on an album like a
Hey.
Taylor Swift or Adele or something like that, like, there's some songwriters I know that they work with pop artists, and like, they probably work on a few records a year, and those pop records kind of like hold them over and huge, and it's just like the money is crazy, the sales is crazy. So because obviously, like we're in a business wise, hip hop. There was a point where hip hop was kind of like leading in sales. It's kind of dropping a little bit sales wise, but I always think that hip hop is going to have a really high place in the market as far as on that end. So hip hop and R&B is going to be my focus, but pop is definitely something I want to do next.
Okay. Okay. What which artists have you been able to produce for?
So personally, so let me kind of tell you. So basically, a lot of my focus early on, obviously, I was mentioning was on the management side, but
Mhm.
uh, as far as the producers, so basically, I'm gonna kind of give you an example. So Vegas Fontaine, which is a co-producer on Forever, he's worked with Sean Paul, Migos, Rick Ross, um, Neo, Michelle Williams from Destiny's Child. Um, ooh, there's a bunch of others. And then Track Burners have worked with Future, Big Sean. Um, who else? Why am I drawing a blank? Um, Tons of others. So yeah, so it's been a lot. But me personally, I haven't had the opportunity to produce personally for any of those artists, but I was able to oversee a lot of the track burners, as far as like when they got placements, I was able to handle the business for them and so forth.
Okay. How were you able to like how did you end up meeting track burners?
Great question. So man, like I was at a beat battle with one of my artists, and they won the beat battle, and I actually got their information.
Mm.
And this was years ago. This was maybe like this was maybe 5, 6, 7 years before I started managing them. So what happened was I kept their contact, and we linked up, and they were so good. They were really like they were rough, but I saw the potential in them. So basically, I kept in contact with them. We never ended up doing any records together, but what happened was we ended up keeping in contact. I saw them in LA. I was in LA for an ASCAP expo, and I ended up seeing them. They had a meeting with a publishing company or something like that, and then I ended up talking with them again, and they sent me a record, and it was like, hey, like, what do you think about this record or whatever the case may be? I was just like, and there was a record called Two of Them, and they sent it to me, and I was like, this record is so crazy. I got to be involved with this record. So we ended up started working together because that one record, they ended up they put it out, and then we put it out on our label in partnership with their label, and yeah, from that point we started working together, and then from there, from the connections that they built, they were able to kind of land a few placements. And it's just like, as a manager, like I personally, like all I had to do was basically just make sure the business was good. So they were good at like
Mm.
networking and stuff like that. So that's kind of how we met, and we've been working together ever since. So we've been working like together since 2017. So 2017 to now.
Okay. Okay. That's dope. That's dope. So when you say like the business of everything, like what do you mean exactly? Do you mean like um kind of just like micromanaging everything, or like what do you mean?
Well, so okay, so like let's just say if an artist gets one of the beats from track burners, and they end up recording to it, like my job is to make sure that the what they are supposed to get, they get. So there's been a lot of like for example,
Okay.
like to make sure that the publishing is there, to make sure that they get an artist royalty, to get make sure that they, you know, I'm there to
Mm-hmm.
make sure that the business is right. And it's like a lot of times when artists or labels see a producer, they don't have representation, they take advantage of them. So um, I'm happy that I've been able
Mm-hmm.
to be there to make sure that they've been, you know, well taken care of and so forth. So um, the business has been straight. So as far as on that end, there's a lot of stuff that I do on the back end, but for the most part, it's making sure the business is good. You know what I'm saying? And obviously, like for me,
Okay.
like I'm on the production side. I'm a creative. Like so, it's like again, like I was saying, like a lot of people know me as as the business executive or whatever the case may be, and a lot of people probably don't see me as a producer and actually producing the records. They probably think that I'm telling somebody
Mm-hmm.
just, hey, like put a hi-hat there and then say I produced it. But nah, it's like it's a whole like that's basically my goal right now. Like my goal is to show people that I can run a label, I can run a management company, and I also can produce music. Like, you know what I'm saying? So that's kind of really
Mm-hmm.
um where I am right now as far as business wise and so forth.
So you're just trying not to put all your eggs in one basket. Basically, just kind of be as diverse as possible. I fuck with it. I fuck with it.
Yeah, and if you
Um,
think about it, to be honest
what
with you,
are
like
yeah.
it's if you think about it, like that the music business is changing so much. Like I want to be in a place where I can put music out, I can produce the music, put it out myself, and I won't have to worry about if somebody's gonna
Mm-hmm.
like, you know, if a label's gonna want it or not. You know what I'm saying? So that's kind of where I'm at. Like I'm in a free mode in my in a very creative mode in my career right now. So it's
Okay.
a very good place to be.
Would you? So if a major came to you and offered you a deal where you maintain maybe 80% of everything that you work on and the bag was right, would you do it, or do you just pride yourself on being independent?
I would do it. I mean, I've worked independently for a long time. To be honest with you, it's like I think eventually that's what I'm gonna end up doing because
Mm-hmm.
I'm sure you speak to a lot of artists and you speak to them and they probably tell you, hey, like I want to keep my masters, like, you know, but
Mm-hmm.
as somebody that has worked independently as long as I have, I could tell you that I remember hearing a story. Lupe Fiasco said he asked Leo Cohen for his masters, and Leo Cohen said, "What are you going to do with the masters? Are you going to put them in a suitcase and walk around with them?" So the point what he's saying is that like
Mm-hmm.
you can own your masters, but like if you don't have the infrastructure to market the records, because you might think when a record comes out, like the work is done like after you've promoted it for a few months or whatever the case may be, but that's not. Like there's songs that we have that we are a part of that came out 5 years ago, but we're trying to find ways to actually implement it to get to make itself more money. You know what I'm saying? So the point what I'm saying is that
Mm-hmm.
I know how the independent game works. Like I've graduated from that side. So I've worked with majors, but I think in this phase of my career, I think I want to be able to get the music out as further as possible. And I think working with majors is not for everybody, but for me in my position, I would definitely take a deal from a major. Not obviously not any deal, but I would definitely take a deal, even if it wasn't as favorable as I want it to be. And the reason why is because I know I can prove myself and I know I can negotiate certain things within the contract that, regardless of if I'm not winning if I'm not getting everything I want initially, that I would eventually get what I want. And to be honest with you, it's like if you
Mm,
are working with a company that is reputable and has been around forever, like if I signed with Republic Records, if I signed with Republic Records and UMG, I know that they're not going anywhere. They've been around for a long time. It's like and so forth. So it's like
mm,
it's one of those things that I know that okay, I'm good. And if I have something in the contract that says that okay, like after a certain point, I can get a certain. It's all about negotiation. It's all about like how you actually put your deal. You know, if you think about it, there's very few artists that are in a major label system, leave the major label system, and go independent, and then stay independent. Let me tell you the reason why. Because like you got people like Drake, John Legend, you know, all of these people, like there's so many people that have been in the game for a long time. They don't need to be with a major, but they know that business wise, it makes a lot more sense because they're going to be able to handle a lot of the stuff that they wouldn't want to have to pay a bunch of different people to do. You know what I'm saying? So yeah. So to answer
that's
your
true.
question, yes,
That's true.
I would definitely take a deal with the major if the deal was right, obviously.
Okay. Um, let's see. Are there like as a producer, like what are some of your pet peeves when you're trying to produce records with maybe certain artists or just in general? What are some of your like your pet peeves?
Hmm. I think indecisiveness is probably the biggest one. And you know, obviously, you know, I'm a creative, so I go through it a little bit too. But for the most part, like indecisiveness is one of the things that I think that um, holds a lot of people back. I'm an advocate of like think about it, sit on it, and then get just go with whatever it is.
Yeah.
Um, so yeah, so I think the biggest pet peeve is indecisiveness. Make a decision, move on. There's gonna be bigger decisions that's gonna come. So just move on, get
Hmm.
it, and you know.
Hmm. What is the Brickle Drive? I saw that on your IG. What is the Brickle Drive?
Great question. So okay, so I used to host a show. I used to host and curate a show called The Crib, and The Crib was on
Mhm.
Dash Radio. So basically, how it worked was, and this was for I hosted the show for like 3 years, 3 4 years or so, something like that. Um, and then we went on a hiatus. So myself and Mike Shill. So basically, I ended up working on a show, and I did some technical stuff. I did like a mix. I curated a mix, and then the guy that was running the show one of the guys that was running the show at the time was like, "Hey, I want you to come in and potentially host the show." So I came in, host the show. I ended up actually myself and Mike Shill ended up moving forward and taking the show over. And it was a great run. Dash Radio was amazing with us. And we went on hiatus, and I was like, I want to do something different. And I was talking to Mike. I was like, I want to do something different. I want to do something that is not a podcast. I don't want to do a podcast. Like, I don't want to
Yeah.
have to get, because of how our structure was with the radio, because we dealt with music. So we basically did mixes
Hmm.
in between our shows, and we were on radio. So I didn't really want to go to the podcast route because I wanted to be able to kind of have a little bit more control over the music that we played. And I didn't want to do just straight talk.
Hmm.
So I came up with the idea because um, I did something called the um, the New Order. So if anybody's familiar with me, they probably know about the New Order. So basically, the New Order is something where I produce music and I rearrange or do a new sequence for albums. So basically, I did it for a Drake album. I did it for like a Nicki album. I did it for a couple of different albums. And basically, what you do is you, let's say you have an album, right, on Apple Music. I'm going to give you an example. Apple Music, you put all those songs on a playlist, but then I change the sequence a little bit, and then you produce music and you actually release it separate and you actually add it to that playlist. So you basically have stuff in between. So Brickle Drive is the first playlist mix show that's cross-platform. So Spotify does it, and Apple Music have done it where they've had playlists where they have talking in between the playlists. So basically, there isn't someone that actually did it outside of the streaming network. So we did it, and now we're the first playlist mix show. So technically, what happens is that when someone streams the show, you stream it just like music. So basically, it's like we are using the system to use the show as something that we don't need sponsorships for. We don't need all of that. Everything is kind of functioned within the playlist. So that's kind of what it is. We are at our second episode now. And my guess is that other people are going to take our idea and kind of run with it. I want that to happen. Obviously, it's technical. It's a little technical to do because you have to kind of know how to release music and so forth. So it's like, so technically we're releasing audio or vocal albums and we're placing them into playlists. It's something that, again, like we haven't seen anyone do it.
I'm just
I
not
did a lot of searching.
hearing
Nobody's done.
about something like that. That's different.
So yeah, so it's like, so if you think about it, it's like, so let's just say each show has 7 segments or so. So basically it's like 7. So that's being like, so somebody will be streaming 7 tracks from us or whatever the case may be. So that's kind of how we're going to be able to kind of sustain the show and so forth. And like I said, I think people are going to probably do that as a separate, they may end up leaving a podcast type of scenario because obviously YouTube's different because YouTube rewards, they reward the creative, but like a lot of times with the podcast, like in the podcast infrastructure, there really isn't an infrastructure to pay the user. So I think this is going to be something that a lot of people are going to use, and so I want people to actually take our style and do it themselves. So yeah, so that's basically what Brickle Drive is. We're on the second episode. If people could just go to Brickle Drive, they'll be able to see it. We're going to eventually have our website up where people will be able to look at past episodes and stuff like that. So yeah, it's a pretty dope, pretty dope concept. It's been great so far. So it's hosted by myself and Mike Shill.
That's dope. That's unique. That's very unique. Very unique.
Appreciate it.
So what else did I want to ask? So like, who are some like dream artists that you want to work with in the future?
Oh, I want to work with Jay-Z, man. Jay-Z is one of my favorite, my favorite artists. He's one of my favorite rappers, like of all time for me. So Jay-Z, would love to work with Jay-Z. Would love to work with some new artists. I think. Ooh, I would love to work with Money Long. I like Money Long. I met her when she was Priscilla Renee. So obviously that's her real name. But yeah, when she was a songwriter and an artist. But yeah, Money Long, I would like to work with her. Who else? There's a bunch of people. Coi Leray. I would love to work with Coi Leray.
Okay.
I like Coi Leray. Like I like that she really don't stop. Like, her energy is crazy. So I would love to work with her. I would love to work with Drake. Man, who else? There's definitely one more. I would love Diddy. I would love to. produce on
Okay.
Diddy's next because I actually, when I got into the game, like I got into like literally like, remember I was telling you I wanted to be an engineer,
Hmm.
but seeing how Diddy did his thing, like I really use him as a blueprint to really do what I do. And it's just like, I'm not afraid to say it. Like he's definitely one of the reasons why I'm doing what I'm doing. So it's like I would love to, produce some music for him. And I know he has a album coming out. So I might not make this album, but who knows, like, moving forward in the future, I think we could do something for sure. But those are like the artists that like I would
Gonna
love to
speak
work
it
with.
into existence.
Definitely, exactly. Got to.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Um, okay. So if you had to pick like a Mount Rushmore of producers, in your opinion, who would they be and why?
Ooh, that's a great question. Mount Rushmore producers. I would say Timbaland, Dr. Dre.
Yeah.
So Timbaland, I would say the reason why Timbaland, I would pick him, is because he really changed the game so many times, and a lot of stuff that he did, people didn't do for years after, and like he was just a trendsetter on that end. Dr. Dre, um, I think his sensibility for musicians is like, and the way that he puts his stuff together, the way he mixes his stuff is crazy. And I think he's definitely one of the best. So that's why I would put him. Diddy, again, like, a lot of the producers that he's collaborated with wouldn't have been able to make some of the records that he was able to put together because of just of him. You know what I'm saying? So I think he definitely needs to be in the Mount Rushmore for sure. Who else? Man, there's one
These are
more.
all the
I,
older acts. No
yeah, and
modern
you know what?
producers.
Because there's a lot of producers. You know what's crazy? There's a lot of producers that I like now, but I feel like those are the ones that when I was coming up, when I was growing up, they were the ones that were doing a thing. Uh,
Yeah.
if I had to mention somebody new, I would have to say somebody that's newer. Man, I think Metro Boomin deserves to be up there. He's definitely one of my favorite newer
Yeah.
producers. Um, if I had to name one more newer producer, I would say newer producer.
Do you like Hit Boy?
Oh yeah, Hit Boy. Yeah, how could I? Yeah, definitely. Hit Boy definitely he needs to be up there for sure. Definitely needs to be up
Okay.
there. Um, and yeah, like then there's a few others that coming up. That's coming up. What's his name, man? Murder Beats is dope. I love Murder Beats' work.
Can't forget for real.
Pharrell, obviously, yeah. Pharrell, how could I forget? Pharrell is definitely in that top echelon for sure. Um, I'm a huge Pharrell fan, so I don't know how I forgot that. So yeah, so definitely Pharrell,
Mhm.
and man, yeah, I think for right now, I'd say that would be the list. If there's some more, I'll have to come back to you and I'll let you know. Like this is who I forgot. You know what I'm saying?
Okay. Okay.
Definitely.
Okay. Let's switch it to artists then. Who are your top five artists of all time? I just want to pick your
Top
brain, see
five artists.
where your head's at a little bit. You know what I'm saying?
Ooh, top five artists
Yeah.
of all time. Michael Jackson. Michael
Mm,
Jackson. Jay-Z. Ooh,
mm,
Michael Jackson. Jay-Z. Beyonce.
mm.
Uh,
Okay.
uh, Michael Jackson. Jay-Z. Beyonce. Um, I would have to put I would have to put Big in there. The reason why I say that is
Okay.
because like his wordplay was crazy. Um, who else?
Mm-hmm.
A lot of people say Tupac, and I would say so too. But like, I, if I had to pick five, I would probably put him in my top five. But so how many did I say? I said
You said
Jay
Michael
Z,
Jackson,
Beyonce,
Jay-Z,
Michael Jackson,
Beyonce, Biggie.
Biggie, and there's one more. Hmm, of all time.
I don't know. Maybe I should have said rappers. I don't know. When I said artists,
But
I wasn't
if you
expecting
say
you to say
rappers,
Michael
okay, rappers
Jackson
that's
first,
different.
but you know,
That's rappers. Okay, so if we gotta say if we would say rappers,
yeah.
Nas, Jay Z, Big, Nas, Jay Z, or Jay Z, Nas, Big, uh, Tupac.
Okay. Okay. I see this New York
And
bias. See,
you know,
even though
low
Tupac's technically
key,
from New York,
I would
technically.
probably put Ross in in the top and like in my top five as well. So Ross, so Rick Ross, Jay Z,
Wow.
uh, yeah, Rick Ross, Jay Z, Nas, Big, and Ross. Yeah, yeah, Tupac. Yeah, so yeah, that's
Okay.
top
Why?
five.
Okay. Well, my
You
question is
you
why?
you,
Okay.
you want to
What's
ask
your reasoning of
why I
putting
pick Ross?
Ross over Lil Wayne, Drake, Kanye? You know what I'm saying? What's your
You know
argument of
what?
Ross over all of them?
Okay, let me. I'm gonna say something real quick about why I picked the five because top rappers for me right now, I would put Drake
Mhm.
on top. All right. The
Okay.
reason why I pick Ross is because of just like, and I think it possibly was because I was just listening to to some of his music, but I say that
Okay.
because I'm from Miami, and it's like
Mm.
that's kind of why the reasoning is there. But if I, because
Hmm.
and again, to be honest with you, if we talk 10 years from now, I might have to actually take somebody else out of the top five and put Drake. But right now, Drake to me is the best
Hmm.
to me
Hmm.
personally.
I agree. I agree.
You know what I'm saying? Lil Wayne, the and I love Lil Wayne. Lil Wayne is one of the top to ever do it. Um, but I think as far as on that, he would, if I had to choose 10, he would definitely be in it. But like I have to put Ross there just because coming from Miami, seeing his come up and seeing how he's done, like that's why I would put him there. You know what I'm saying?
Okay. Okay. That's understandable. It's understandable.
Yeah.
And when I think Miami rappers, I instantly think Rick Ross. Like that's probably the number one artist I would think if I was in Miami would be Rick Ross. Like, um,
Yeah.
so that makes
Yeah.
sense.
Rick Ross is definitely
Okay. Well,
he's done enough for me to put him there. I feel like, and he's one artist I would love to work with as well.
oh, definitely. Mm, definitely, definitely. Shit. Okay. Where do you see yourself like maybe a year from now with just not just producing, but with like managing? I don't know if you manage other artists on your label too, but like, where do you see yourself with everything? Like maybe next November. Like, where do you see yourself?
Next November, I'm gonna definitely be working forever as uh, as a pick for a potential nominee for a Grammy. So I see myself kind of gearing
Mm,
up for that. I see myself gearing up for the Grammys with a potential nomination.
okay.
3 years from now, I
Okay.
see myself with a top producer nomination in the wings. So that's my 1 year to 3 year goal.
Mm,
You know what I'm saying? To really, because like again, like I want to I want to be able to tell, like, I want to be able to show people that I not only have been, because like I said, like a lot of people know me as a really, really good executive on the music side, but like to be known as a producer, that's my next goal, to kind of prove to people that, hey, like, I'm one of the best out. It's my ears impeccable, and I want people to be able to say that. So that's kind of what
Mm-hmm.
my goal is. So next year is definitely kind of just gearing up for that, and really I want to tour. I want to tour with Vincent and Valholla Empire as well. You know, even if it's something small. So that's where I see myself in a year from now.
Okay. Okay. Man, I appreciate you coming on, man. Like, I know you're a busy guy, you know what I'm saying? So
I
definitely appreciate
appreciate
you
you
coming
coming
on and
on.
doing this, man.
How
Really
did
do.
you find out about myself and what we're doing over here?
I basically was just going through Biddle's friends list, and I think he was following you, and I just saw your name, and I was like, oh, he seems like a pretty interesting guy. So I checked you out,
I
and
I
wanted to tap in. You know what I'm saying? Do an interview.
I, I, I appreciate it. I appreciate it. And again, like I said, as far as I'm thankful to be on your platform, and yeah, and I hope to talk with you again, so I can kind of tell you an update of what we got going on. You know.
Definitely, definitely. I can't wait to hear it, man. Seems like you're on the up and up, you know. So
Definitely,
hey, whenever
definitely. We
whenever you
got
want
a
to
lot
come
going
back, you're
on.
welcome, bro. Absolutely.
I really appreciate it, Alex. Thank you so much. I really definitely appreciate you. Thanks for having me.
No problem. No problem.
All
Tell
right.
the people where to find you, Twitter, Instagram, all that.
People can find me at Vince Valholla on all platforms. Our company is Valholla Records. We used to be called Valholla Entertainment. Our main company is called Valholla Worldwide Entertainment Group, and the imprint is Valholla Records. So you can check us out. Valholla, that's VALHOLLA on all platforms. VALHOLLA.com is the website. And yeah, everything that we got going on, you can check us out there. And I'm on all platforms. So yeah, definitely check us out.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Again, thank you so much. You know, I know you're a busy guy, so I'm gonna let you go. But again, appreciate it, man.
Hey, I appreciate you. Thanks again for having me. And everybody check out the single Forever. As soon as you actually turn off this interview, check out Forever.